On the day that it happened, I was by the ice cream man and I got my ice cream and the man said, "It's safe to go, you can cross now."
That somebody that you love goes out and they don't come back.
You do ask yourself the question, what if it had been my son or daughter crossing the road, how would it have felt?
I looked right and left and started walking, but I was still looking right and left. But as I turned back to look back to left, the car just hit me.
It was on a 30-mile-an-hour road. The car wasn't speeding but was travelling at 30 miles an hour and it hit this young girl.
And of course, the greater your speed you're going, the faster you're going, the more energy there is when you hit someone or something, and that energy is then transferred into what you're hitting, causing the damage.
And I fell to the ground and I was just looking at the car and it seemed to slow down and then just speed off.
There's always a knock on the door by a member of the police force, and you're either asked to go to the hospital or morgue to identify the person you love because they're dead and they need to be identified, or you're going to presumably an intensive care unit or a high dependency unit if somebody's got a serious life-changing injury.
If these children have multiple injuries or severe injuries, we want a whole team around them that can respond to those injuries, so we have a trauma team ready waiting for them.
Initially, it's a very traumatic time, and I think anyone who works with children appreciates how emotionally taxing that can be for trauma situations. You often have a distraught family to deal with, and then you have this little person who's got a number of injuries.
We've dealt with families where their son has died, sometimes they've killed their best friend, sometimes their best friend is lying in a hospital bed in a permanent vegetative state, all because when a group of boys in particular, although girls can do this as well, they tend to egg their friends on to drive fast. They seem to think that it's the right thing to do, and because young people tend to think that they can't die because they're not old and they're not ill, they don't realise that by putting their foot down, the risk that they're taking.
They'd done an x-ray on my leg and they thought I'd chipped a bone in my ankle, and they said I was very lucky to survive.
But as time goes on, you really see the impact that injuries had on a child, where they're not able to get out of bed, they're in hospital for a prolonged period of time, their poor families coming in, having to visit them often quite long distances. And you see the effect it has in terms of depression on the child, the time that they have to take off schooling, the fact that they're not out playing with their children.
I tell the drivers just drive safe and careful and always be on the lookout for children.
Because you don't heal from it, but you learn to live with this. And that's what we're trying to do, help people realise that yes, their life will be different, but with the right support and help they can move on. The sad thing is, for many people, they shouldn't have to, because the incident should never have happened.
For each mile-an-hour reduction you get in someone's speed, you can reduce severe injuries by about 6%, so that's pretty good going.
It's allowing me to go slow enough to stop, so that if a child runs out, I can stop in time, not to cause them any harm.
Ask yourself the question, if it's possible to happen, it's very likely that it will, so just be prepared for it.
Because I've been hit by a speeding car and the consequences were really bad, and I sometimes end up limping because my knee hurts that much.